If you're in the mood to start some trouble and you want to throw some bait out there and you want to see how misogyny around menstruation aggressively reveals itself in otherwise progressive spaces, start a conversation about free bleeding, because the horror and consternation that you will meet will demonstrate it with hilarious and painful clarity. People seem to think that if someone so much as mentions free bleeding, that the rest of us are going to go, alrighty then, and then there's going to be hordes of us in the public sphere indiscriminately bleeding over things in public spaces without a care in the world. Even when the conversation is about the logistics of free bleeding as it is commonly practiced in the home, people will still be wringing their hands and clutching their pearls over the prospect of people bleeding all over park benches and office chairs. This is really bordering on hysterical, is often deeply funny, but also pretty misogynistic, because it seems to imply that those of us who have been dealing with the logistics of managing regular bleeding for most of our lives cannot be trusted to manage it responsibly. Despite being the ones who are primarily impacted by it and are intimately acquainted with what it takes to manage it, there seems to be this assumption that we too are not equally as invested in not sitting down on a park bench and finding ourselves sitting in a red pool someone else left behind. Do you not think I also don't want stains all over my sofa? Then there's the stupidity and misogyny in the idea that we are so fickle-minded that all it takes is one person mentioning free bleeding for the rest of us to go sure and start literally painting the town red. The difference between bleeding onto a pad or bleeding into a pair of period undies versus bleeding onto a folded towel that you are sitting on in the privacy of your own home is pretty arbitrary. Putting aside the fact that there are a lot of people who have a massive disgust factor around the idea of pads and period undies in the first place, there are also a lot of people who are totally fine with the idea of you bleeding into a towel that you are wearing, but the moment you talk about bleeding onto a towel that you are sitting on, all reason goes out of the window. And the way that they will extrapolate that into a version of the future where we're all having to sidestep red puddles in the street is absurd, bordering on moral panic levels unhinged. This might be my favorite flavor of sexism, and I will admit to occasionally baiting it on purpose because it amuses me so much.